We've lost 4 of our top generals within a few days after the election. And not one of the stenographers in the media that I know of is asking why have we lost 3 to 4 top generals in 4. We've never lost 3 to 4 generals in 3 to 4 days, ever in American history. Never. Wolf Blitzer, the lowest form of humanity, went on the air today on CNN and said to Candy Crawley or one of the other creatures from the Black Lagoon, but this is tough on Obama. He has to replace all these generals, and he has so many other things to do now, doesn't he? There are no words for my contempt for the stenographers in the media who are letting this coup occur in front of our eyes. It is a coup, make no mistake about it. We have a communist left-wing coup going on right in front of our eyes, unless you think we're all crazy. Now, of course, you could say that we're all crazy, but I want anyone listening to the Savage Nation right now in America to tell me when in American history, well, let's say modern American history, perhaps during the Civil War, Lincoln fired generals. We've lost 3 to 4 generals in a period of 3 to 4 days. And these are combat generals. Did you know there was another one today fired? U.S. Army General William Ward, former commander of the U.S. Africa Command. Africa Command. You know Libya's in Africa, don't you? You may not know that from your history lessons, but he was demoted in order to pay $82,000 for so-called unauthorized spending on extravagant trips. And this was done to him by the left-wing fanatic, Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, a lifetime leftist agitator who has now left the country. Leon Panetta, along with Hillary Clinton, have left the country to go to Australia for a wine tasting while this is all going on. The move by Defense Secretary Leon Panetta means General William Kip Ward, who put in 41 years in the military, will lose 1 star and retire as a 3-star lieutenant general, according to the Associated Press. Ward, a career soldier who started in the Army Infantry 41 years ago, became commander of the Africa Command on October 1, 2007. He is a decorated soldier, unlike Panetta. He is a decorated soldier, unlike Panetta, unlike Valerie Jarrett, unlike any of the other left-wing fanatics in the Obama administration, including the Distinguished Service Medal, the Legion of Merit, and the Army Commendation Medal. He is the son of a World War II combat engineer who served when the service was still segregated. Shall I read that a little further? Did you know he was an African-American who was thrown out of the military because he had honor and pride, and in my estimation, would not go along with the big lie to cover up for Obama about Benghazi. So he went as well. So now we come back to the whole story of what the heck is the FBI doing reading emails of U.S. citizens. Shouldn't that bother you, boys and girls? I thought the left wing was afraid of the FBI reading your emails. I thought the left wing hated the Patriot Act. I thought the left wing said the Patriot Act was unconstitutional. Well, now they're having a gleeful time using the Patriot Act to destroy our heroes. So you could say this is frightening if you are given to fright. Or you could say that this is so bad that it will eventually lead to the truth about Benghazi and perhaps even more. But there's another twist to the story that emerged today. One of the women in the Petraeus case is of Lebanese descent. Now you may say, well, so what? What does that mean? Aren't you being somehow geographist? Well, I don't know. What do you make of that? The lady named Jill Kelly, the woman at the center of the currently unfolding drama that is shaking the U.S. government and the military to the core, is of Lebanese origin. Her maiden name is Kawan. Now, you may say, well, that doesn't mean she's guilty of being a spy. No, certainly it doesn't. But who is she? Who is Jill Kelly, the woman who threw parties in Tampa for top brass? What does she have to do with Petraeus and General Allen? Well, let's ask these questions. Who is she? Who is Jill Kelly, maiden name Kawam, from Lebanon? How did she get to interact with top U.S. brass in the Middle East? Why would a surgeon and his wife buy an extremely expensive home near a military base and immediately make themselves into a social hive with the top brass? Where'd they get the money from? He's only a surgeon. He's not particularly wealthy. He's working for a university clinic. He's a family man. Where did he get his money from? Because guests said that the parties were quite extravagant that the Kellys threw in Tampa, Florida. You know where Tampa is, don't you? Well, you know it's in Florida. But do you know what is in Tampa that you may not know? You know all of our drones that fly all over the Middle East and elsewhere? It all comes out of a command post in Tampa. The boys with the computers are down in bunkers under the ground in Tampa. It's the nerve center of most of our military operations in Tampa. So now you have a woman. No one ever heard of her. They moved to Tampa. They don't have much money. They put on social galas for the military and government operatives. And they say the social galas seem to spare no expense, guests said. Often featured copious buffets, valet parking, string quartets, premium cigars, champagne. And while they were throwing, listen to this, while they were throwing glamorous parties, the Kellys, meaning Ms. Kawam, racked up substantial debt, prompting banks to initiate foreclosure proceedings on 2 properties. Wow! So what's the motivation here? Now, there's more to the story, of course, and we're not saying that she is a spy. Remember, she is not a Muslim. That's very important. She is a Catholic. They were persecuted in their native Lebanon when Jill, David, and Natalie were small children, and their parents eventually fled Lebanon for the United States. The Lebanese Christian family built new lives in America, with both David and Natalie becoming lawyers. Now, they're basically foreign nationals, which is not a crime or a sin. But there is something odd about their access to top military personnel that certainly should set off alarm bells, right? Now, a military officer who was a former member of Petraeus' staff said Ms. Kelly, you may know her as Ms. Kawam, Ms. Kelly was a self-appointed go-between for Central Command officers with Lebanese and other Middle Eastern government officials. Kelly was a fixture at social and charity events involving Central Command officials in Tampa. The officer said Kelly's presence was often a bit puzzling to Petraeus' staff, but there was never any indication that her relationship with the general was anything more than social. Now, one of the most liberal sites out there, one of the sites that's nothing but pure and unadulterated Pravda-esque propaganda for Obama, is implying that this Jill Kelly, who is of Lebanese origin, should have been investigated by the FBI because it seems to them, the left-wing fanatics, the bootlickers for Obama, that they were a threat to our national security. Left-leaning Daily Kos is now building the case that Ms. Kelly's actions are suspicious and that if she was not in the employ of a foreign intelligence service, something else is going on here. Now, remember, the Daily Kos is one of the most despicable sites in the world. It's something that Joseph Stalin would have set up. It's something that only George Soros could be proud of. This is the same website that called Michelle Bachmann's investigation into Congressman Weiner's wife, Huma Abedin, a witch hunt, despite her tangible connections to the Muslim Brotherhood. Did you know that? Old Weiner, who showed his wanger, was married to Huma Abedin and still is, and Huma Abedin has tangible connections to the Muslim Brotherhood, which is one of the reasons that old Weiner was thrown out of office because of his exposure on a double level. So he didn't just get thrown out of office because of the exposure. He got thrown out of office because there was a connection to the Muslim Brotherhood through Huma Abedin, according to Michelle Bachmann. Yet the Daily Kos called that a witch hunt. But they don't call this a witch hunt. They now say that General Petraeus of the CIA and General Allen would be top targets for foreign intelligence operations, right? And through Pillow Talk, some of the details of U.S. military actions or of even spying would benefit some of these countries. Now, we don't know whether Petraeus had some Pillow Talk with whatever her name is. I've forgotten already, Ms. Wellbroad. By the way, there's another subtext to Ms. Wellbroad. Wellbroad is missing. Her license was found in a park near her home. I'll repeat that. Wellbroad, when I went on the air, Wellbroad is missing. Wellbroad's driver's license from North Carolina was found in a park near her home. Sounds eerie, doesn't it? I'm a part-time novelist. I wrote Abuse of Power. It was a bestseller. I have another book coming out. I have a book of short stories that's out right now called Train Tracks. So I know what fiction is. People couldn't write this in fiction. You have a suspicious president who half the country believes is a Muslim. Half of that half believe that he's allied with the Muslim Brotherhood. Half of that half believe he does not have the interests of America at heart. And now you have this blowing up in our face where 3 to 4 generals are thrown under the bus a few days after the man is elected. So we know that Jill Kelly's maiden name is Kawam. We know that she was born in Lebanon to Maronite Christians. We know that Maronite Christians were allies of Israel in the Lebanese Civil War. And now we read that the Daily Kos, a left-wing anti-Semitic site, is implying that because the Maronite Christians were allies of Israel, they're implying she's a spy. Do you understand what I'm saying? In other words, the only reason they're saying that she's a spy is because she's a Christian from Lebanon, and the Maronite Christians were allied with Israel in the Lebanese Civil War. So since that fits their prejudice that Israel controls the administration and that she is probably working for Israel, they're willing to publish this story. She's also identified as an unofficial liaison between top American generals and unspecified Middle Eastern contexts. So what is this all about? Jill Kelly, maiden name Kawam, throws parties. They don't have the money for it. They rack up debt. Banks initiate a foreclosure proceedings on 2 properties that they own. Who is she? What does this have to do with anything? Can you follow any of this? Do you understand what's going on? The left-wing Daily Kos, something out of the ex-Soviet Union, is saying that one of the women in the Petraeus scandal is a spy. I'm going to open it up to you, the caller of the Savage Nation. I'm going to have an attorney friend of mine on shortly, maybe not immediately. And I'm going to ask my attorney friend, Dan Horowitz, does the FBI have the authority to spy on American citizens? Because spy they did. And wait till you hear what he has to say. Wait until you hear how the left wing has used the Patriot Act to break down the last vestiges of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I'll be right back. So now it's getting more interesting by the second, isn't it? What's going on? Does anyone know what's going on? Now, the baby solution is it's Benghazi. Benghazi Gate is a cover-up because Obama said stand down. That's why the ambassador died. That's why the Special Forces guys didn't get the help they asked. That's why they just fired an African-American general in charge of the Africa Command, as well as 2 or 3 other generals. That's the face of it. They wouldn't go along with the big lie that Obama didn't say stand down, or Valerie Jarrett, as some are implying, didn't say stand down, or Hillary Clinton was the one who said stand down. No one knows who said stand down. Could have been Bo the dog. Maybe nobody was there and they kept calling, and Bo picked up the phone. And when they said they're dying there in Benghazi, they need help, the dog barked and they thought that meant stand down. Is that it? You think it's that simple? Well, unto itself, that's an impeachable offense. And it would have cost Obama the election. So that's a possibility. Let's not throw out what's right in front of our eyes. But now you got the cat fight going on. Now you got the 2 women, right? This is crazy. Something's wrong here. Daily Kos is in Obama's front pocket. So if they're implying that this woman is a spy because she's a Lebanese Christian and Maronite Christians were allies of Israel in the Lebanese Civil War, we can pretty much dismiss that. Then we can throw that in the garbage. That has no meaning whatsoever. But let's not worry about that. There are no damning emails between Ms. Kelly and General Petraeus. No damning emails between them. But this accusation could work with General Allen, who is also being targeted by Obama's anti-military White House. You really don't need Ms. Kelly to destroy Petraeus because Wellbroad has already destroyed Petraeus. But Kelly has served as an excuse to justify the FBI's possibly illegal hacking into Petraeus' computer and to bring down General Allen as well. So the FBI is right now acting like the FBI would act in a dictatorship. Do you agree or disagree? I'm asking you, do you agree? What do you have to say about this? This is shocking. Bill in San Francisco on KSFO. Is this story as exciting to you as it is to me?
Dr. Savage, I don't think Jack Hatfield could even unravel this one. This
Bingo.
is just too crazy. But the question I had for you today is I'm just wondering, I know Benghazi is a good reason to be getting rid of these guys, but I wonder if there's a correlation between Obama's comments when he thought the microphone was off to Medvedev about...
I'll finish your thought. You mean during the campaign, before the campaign, when he said to Mr. Medvedev of Russia, when I'm president, if I'm president?
Exactly.
Oh, you mean when they used Romney as a stooge, as a fall guy? And the Republicans a day later fell on their sword and said, okay, we agree with Obama on everything, and we're supposed to believe we have a two-party system? Tell me who's closer to the truth. Savage, who's been saying that we have an oligarchy of a single party, the Republicrats or Democrats, or those of you who believe there's actually a Republican Party? You know I'm right.
Absolutely. I'm
sending you a free copy of Train Tracks. When I come back, we'll take more questions and comments on this evolving scandal. We'll have a conversation with my attorney friend Dan Horowitz to let us know if he thinks the FBI broke the law. So the communists steal the election. By the way, there's a new story out. I know you don't want to hear it. You think Obama won by a landslide? Are you out of your mind? Did you actually study this election? Well, we're going to get into the election another. I don't want to go through this sour grapes, but we'll get into that in a minute. We're talking about the purging of the generals. It's unheard of. I challenge anyone listening to this show, any left-wing fanatic listening to the Savage Nation, to correct me and tell me that there has been a time in modern American history when 3 to 4 top combat generals were fired by a president over an alleged scandal. And by the way, there's no scandal, there's no spying, there's nothing. What, a little love affair between one of them brings down 4 top generals who wouldn't go along with the big lie about the Benghazi situation? It's impeachable. So where is Defense Secretary Panetta? He's out of the country. After firing General Number 4, he fled the country for Australia to a wine tasting, along with our Secretary of Hate, Hillary Clinton, who fled the country so she can't testify at the Benghazi hearings. You're living in not a banana republic. You're living in a website republic, which is something less than a banana republic, because at least you can eat a banana. You cannot eat a website. Now, the question that is pregnant for me is if they can do this to men with such power, if Obama's minions and the FBI can bring down generals on such scanty, nothing, zero, nothing, what can they do to you? Did they break the law? Did the FBI break the law? And before we go to my attorney, Dan Horowitz, for his opinion, I want to remind you that there was an FBI agent involved in this in the Tampa Bureau who was allegedly a friend of Ms. Jill Kelly, who she went to saying she was afraid, Wellbroad was scaring her, and this FBI agent has been fired because he allegedly sent a shirtless photo. You hear this? Are you listening to this country, what we become? He sent a shirtless photo to someone, so they dismissed him from the FBI. Where is he? I hope he hasn't gone jogging in Marcy Park, because we don't know who the FBI agent is. So they purged the FBI agent who opened up the whole case against Broadwell, or Wellbroad, whatever you want to call her. And allegedly this led to Petraeus, which is a big lie. It's a pack of lies. This is a backdoor method to bring down the generals. It's just like the purge of the Red Army in 1941 by Joseph Stalin, after which he got through. After Stalin got through, 300 commanders were executed in 1941 during the Battle of Moscow. The madman, Joseph Stalin, killed 300 of his commanders. How they even fought the war after that is a miracle. But you have to understand history in order not to repeat it. But since most of America now has no history, the only history they have is that given to them by the National Education Association, which consists of how to put a condom on a cucumber, etc. I'll go down the list another day. My attorney is on the phone. I don't want to keep you longer than I have to. Dan Horowitz, welcome to the Savage Nation. Dan, did you investigate the FBI's authority to inspect emails of U.S. citizens such as Jill Kelly, etc.?
Yes, Michael. They have the right with a search warrant to look at your emails and read your emails. But in this case, no FBI agent is going to try to get a search warrant because Broadwell is sending nasty emails to Kelly, or some unknown person is sending nasty emails to Kelly. That's the excuse for them to go public with their peeking at the emails. I guarantee you that they've been looking at these emails secretly using foreign spying authority under the Patriot Act. And then when they finally reveal that they've been looking at Petraeus' emails, they're making believe they did it with the warrant.
So they reverse engineered this in order to bring down Petraeus, which leads me to ask you, why do you think they're bringing Petraeus down for the obvious reasons that he wouldn't crack on the Benghazi big lie story?
Well, Michael, you know that you're the person I go to for those kinds of questions. I can tell you this: there is a web here that focuses on Jill Kelly, a person of Lebanese descent who is dealing with high-ranking generals, putting our people in touch with Middle Eastern partners and being a liaison to them. She's got a sister in bankruptcy court with all these personal loans. There's a lot going on there that we don't know about, and how this ties in to Petraeus and the purge of our government, I don't know, but it's scary, I'll tell you that. Something's happening.
Well, you're a lawyer who knows what wiretapping is. We've been quite familiar with that ourselves. It's illegal to wiretap someone. I've been the victim of wiretapping without going into details. It's one of the most fundamental violations you can perform on anyone in this country, is it not?
It really is, Michael. And you see what's going on with what went on with you, and I'm not going to say much more about it, is it was a vile, terrible act that we're not going to let go. We are going to seek redress in the courts because it was not done by the government. The problem here is that under the Patriot Act and some of these other acts that have passed, the government, all the government has to do is say, you know, there's some foreign agents or foreign entities that we have to investigate. And then they go to a judge and say, we want you to issue a wiretap order. The judge says no. They say you have to. The law says you have to. The judge says, why am I a judge? We don't know. The law says you have to sign the order because it's relevant.
Dan, can we find out if a judge authorized the FBI to tap the emails?
Well, again, I'm going back to my secret foreign agent spying that's been going. I believe this investigation.
No, but I'm saying, of course, you're saying they did it secretly, then they went to a judge retroactively, and then they got the order after they did it. But wouldn't that be a matter of public record in the federal courts if such an authorization was granted by a judge?
Yeah, we'll get that. There will be. I mean, they cover their tracks. It's very easy. They will have a judge who signed a search warrant because of threatening emails, and did Kelly get threatened by Petraeus as well as by his girlfriend, and we have to investigate. And some judge signed off on that. We know that. But the real major investigation has been going on for weeks or months, and that we will never know about unless...
Dan, as a father with young children, does it bother you that we're losing 3 to 4 of our top generals in 3 to 4 days?
Oh, I think so. It bothers me in a lot of ways, Michael, because they're heroes. I mean, they put their lives on the line, and now they're being purged. I mean, what do I teach my kids? You bring up my kids. Do I teach them about Stalin purging people, the show trials? Or do I talk to them about Petraeus, a man who was an American hero who was purged over nothing?
That's the thing, purged over nothing. And you know that they got rid of the head of Africa Command today?
No, I mean, that you told me earlier. I couldn't believe it.
Dan, but U.S. Army General William E. Ward is an African-American general, to add insult to injury. He was stripped of a star by Leon Panchetta, who then flew off to Australia. The man has served 41 years, including he won the Distinguished Service Medal, the Legion of Merit, the Army Commendation Medal. This is an amazing man. He should have been granted a hero's send-off instead of he just kicked in the behind by this guy. They said that he, what did he do? The one-time head of the U.S. Africa Command was demoted Tuesday in order to repay $82,000 for, quote, unauthorized spending on extravagant trips and other expenses by Defense Secretary Leon Panetta. Does anyone remember when Nancy Pelosi was abusing military jets for well over a year and a half? How much did that cost the government?
It was on your website, wasn't it?
Dan,
it's unbelievable, Michael.
Dan, something's wrong. Now, why would they fire a general, head of the U.S. Africa Command, unless he also wanted to send troops in to protect the ambassador, to save his life, and he was told not to do so by someone in the Obama camp. Doesn't that make sense to you? I mean, common sense?
Sense, Michael. I think you're starting to uncover this, but I think that there's so many layers of this that I think show after show we're going to get more and more information. And obviously people send you a lot of information, and that's part of why you're able to tell us things that we don't normally know. But what bothers me about this, and I think that we have to get to the bottom of it, is this. Where is the ACLU that should be screaming about the government looking at people's private emails? You know, I talked to Martin Garbus, one of your attorneys, who's a very prominent civil rights, First Amendment, left-leaning lawyer, and he said that he is going to be contacting the ACLU because he's a longtime member, one of their most prominent advocates, saying, why are you silent on this? This is like the McCarthy era where you use government power to purge people without letting the public know what's really going on. Where
I understand, Dan, I understand you called the ACLU today and they hung up on you when you told them that you were interested in this and why they're doing nothing. And when they heard you were on my show, they hung up on you. Is that correct?
Well, you know, who are you? What show are you going to go on? I said, I'm going on Michael Savage's show. And she said, okay, we'll get back to you. Bye. Click. And that was it. Never heard from them again.
Now, Marty Garbus is as left-wing as they come. I know Marty. I like Marty as a person. I don't like his politics at all. But Marty is a left-winger. He's a Democrat. So you're now getting him involved in this? That's amazing. I can't wait to hear where this ends up.
He called me just before the show, and I said, what do you think about this? And he said, look, the government, it doesn't matter who the government is invading in terms of their privacy. You know, he's defended Nazis when their civil rights were violated.
I know.
He doesn't care whose rights are violated. He cares that the government has to be kept in check. Because if you don't keep the government in check, incrementally, they take away your rights until it's too late. That's it.
I told Marty he was on the wrong side, but he didn't believe me over the last few years. Now, Dan, we're going to see this emerge tomorrow in another way. Now that it's come out that one of the women in the Petraeus scandal is of Lebanese origin, now the left wing is saying she's probably a spy because she's a Maronite Christian. They wouldn't say it if she was a Muslim. That you understand. They're implying that she was spying for Israel. You understand that, of course.
Right. Well, the other thing
and
is
so then it's acceptable. Then it's acceptable to attack someone of Middle Eastern descent if they're Christian and they're spying for Israel. That's okay for the daily floss.
Well, her sister also has problems, right? Her sister has an $800,000 loan, you know, from the Kellys. She's in bankruptcy.
$800,000. That's an interesting figure. $800,000, isn't it?
Well, you better tell me.
That's an inside joke, Dan. All right, we're living in the end of times. Legal pot, free health care, free phones for welfare leeches, food stamps for illegal aliens, dirty, filthy people in the White House, such as Chris Rock, rappers in the White House. Shall I go on? There's something wrong. There's something wrong. Dead people voting. Michelle telling us to eat organic carrots while eating French fries. Living people voting from buses 8 times. Generals being purged. Biographers being destroyed. What a wonderful country this has become under Obama. Isn't it wonderful to see us being dragged down into a level below that of Uruguay? Dan Horowitz, thanks for being with us on the Savage Nation. These are interesting times. Unfortunately, I'm not a Greek philosopher. I'm Michael Savage. The phone number is 1-855-400-SAVAGE. You can't get through because people are so excited by this. And we'll get callers from Delaware to San Francisco. In the interim, please go to michaelsavage.com because I posted that article that I just mentioned to you about Ms. Kelly, maiden name Kawam. I'll be right back.
Call Michael right now at 855-400-SAVAGE.